Γεια σας από μένα. Το όνομά μου είναι Φίλιππος Γκανούλης. Είμαι συντονιστής του Πράσινου Κόμματος στη Θεσσαλονίκη. Οπότε ας αρχίσουμε καταρχήν από τις συζητήσεις και μετά ας έχουμε μια σύντομη συζήτηση. Θα αρχίσουμε από την παρουσίαση του φίλου Βασίλ Kadrinov από την Βουλγαρία, η οποία πραγματεύεται και έχει ως τίτλο την ολιγαρχία, τον λαϊκισμό και τους πράσινους στη Βουλγαρία. Please, Vasil.
Thank you. Thank you to our Greek friends for the invitation to here to present the situation with the populism in our country. First of all, I have to describe the political situation in the country and the history of the populist parties now in Bulgaria. The totalitarian regime in Bulgaria before 1989, in September 1944, Bulgaria was occupied by the Soviet army and totalitarian rule was forced upon the country. The members of the Communist Party apparatus and the Secret Service became a new ruling class, which imposed its will with terror and exploited the workers, the peasants and the intellectuals. The people of Bulgaria were deprived of their civil, economic and political rights. Nevertheless, in 1989, under the influence of the internal opposition and the popular democratic movements in other countries in Eastern Europe, and hindered by huge debts to Western banks, the Bulgarian totalitarian communist regime collapsed. After this collapse, things gradually started to change. A multi-party political system was established, the planet economy was reformed to a free market one, human rights were violated to a lesser extent. The red oligarchy, however, gradually restored its power and influence. Even though its pretext for ruling was no longer the shiny communist future, it was replaced by the bright and shiny capitalistic and democratic future. The ruling oligarchy after 1989, a main tool for the restoration were the secret networks of the many thousand secret service officers and collaborators of the communist political police, the state security. In the years before 1989, these people had been draining money from the central state funds to companies of their own in the West, about $2 billion US. This money, taken from the Bulgarian people, as well as cash gained from secret drug and gun sales, was used by the secret agents later during the 90s as a start-up capital for the privatization of K-banks, previously state-owned factories, mining facilities, hotels, or agricultural land. In this backstage manner, the former communist apparatchiks and state security officers have become the greatest legal capitalists in the country. During the 90s, these men founded some well-known mafia groups too, by means of which they have the grey economy in a firm grip. Noteworthy, it is the deliberated by them 1996 bankrupt of the biggest Bulgarian banks, followed by hyperinflation. Through this order of events, the savings of the Bulgarian citizens were drained by the few chosen men who had received bank credits prior to the bank system collapse and had to pay the credits back in devaluated currency. As a result of these events, people sank into poverty, which brought them under the control of the ruling oligarchy. Over 300 parties are registered in Bulgarian political system. However, only 4 or 5 of them usually achieve parliamentary representation. The new and small anti-status quo parties are stopped by an artificial 4% electoral barrier, which is included in the election law, although it contradicts the Constitution of 1991. The parliamentary represented parties are initiated, grown, supported, and hiddenly funded by the oligarchy, which owns the mainstream media and ensures a safe media environment and advertising for their front stage puppets. These puppets take their turn in power, but despite the theatrical discussions between them, no significant political differences are attainable. Their economic policies are mostly neoliberal, satisfying the interests of small, rich and powerful oligarchic case. If an anti-status quo party is founded, then it is neutralized and marginalized by creation and funding of several duplicate parties, and also by compromising the party leaders or by medium isolation. There are several populist parties and movements in Bulgaria. Populism is a main tool of the oligarchy to keep its power, and until now it has raised several mainstream populist parties and movements. The first what I will talk about is the Bulgarian Socialist Party. This is the leader of the party, Mr. Sergei Stanishev. He is in the same time chairman of the Party of the European Socialists. So the Bulgarian Socialist Party is supposedly reformed former totalitarian communist party. Without admitting any kind of guilt for the half-century terror, this party now claims to be left, social, a defender of the poor. Nevertheless, the party did legislate a flat income tax of 10% during its rule in 2005-2009. And now this party is forming the new government. So you see Mr. Stanishev with a boy who is like Ernesto Che Guevara. So the next party is the Movement of Rights and Freedoms. It's a party supposedly standing for the Turkish minority in Bulgaria. This party declares itself as a liberal party, but there is not any sign of internal party democracy. Since 23 years, its authoritarian leader is Ahmet Dogan. The party actually functions as a well-organized clan and defends only the business interests of its leaders and not the interests of the Turkish minority. The next party is the national movement Simeon II. This party was founded by the former and last Tsar of Bulgaria, Simeon II, with the kind aid of the former communist state security. To become a prime minister in 2001, Simeon promised in populist style to solve the problem with the poverty for no more than 800 days. This did not happen. After the 800 days, the image of Simeon, however, was not tarnished severely in the eyes of many Bulgarians who have faith in the autocratic decision-making and expect that their problems will be solved by the good Tsar. Citizens for European Development of Bulgaria. It's a very good name, the Citizens of European Development of Bulgaria. It's a party which came to being with the unification of former communist military men. Its leader is Boyko Borisov, former tutor of the State Security School in the 80s and bodyguard of the former dictator Zhivkov in the 90s. His party was in power for the last 4 years. Borisov got famous with his authoritarian manners. He ordered the surveillance of all of his ministers and actually stated in the press that the highways and the sport house being under construction in Bulgaria were built by him. He is the man who constructed the new Bulgaria. After his mandate as prime minister, the citizens are still poor. His closet alias, though, are richer. The next populist party is Ataka. Ataka is nationalistic party of populist promises and open hatred against Turks, Roma and Jews. It is instrument for lobbying in Bulgaria and seems supported for the interest of the Russian oligarchy of Putin and seems supported financially by it. The leader of the party, Volen Sidorov, often leads Nazi-like parades and promises to triple the salaries and the pensions. This is the book of Mr. Sidorov. In Bulgarian, in English, this means my struggle for Bulgaria. You remember about Adolf Hitler, so. The media, the Bulgarian media are subordinate to several economic groups. Auto-censorship or pre-ordered one-side publications are very often in current Bulgarian journalism. The last report of Reporters Without Borders about the freedom of the press lists the country in place 87. Something about the current economic and social and environmental crisis. The economic, social and environmental crisis are generated by the branches of the mafia, disbalancing the economics in favor of the oligarchy. The energy mafia insists on public funding for a new nuclear power plant and for around 10 billion euro, constructed by the Russian atom export stroke. The forest mafia has been stealing precious state-owned lands in forest and mountain areas by receiving them in exchange for less attractive lands by corrupt swap deals. Dirty cash is being laundered in the mountain and Black Sea resorts by the construction mafia, while natural landscapes are being drastically destroyed. Mining corporations are stealing underground precious metals and coal through concessions, very profitable for them and terrible, however, for the public. The gold, copper and coal mining barons, among who formerly agents of the state security, are feudalizing and oppressing local communities. River pollutions caused by the dirty mines are a common environmental issue. The result of the mafia invasion in the economics is poverty for the rest of the Bulgarian citizens. Bulgaria is the poorest country in the European Union, with 12% unemployment and 38 youth unemployment. The brain drain is a great problem. Every single year, 25,000 to 30,000 educated young people leave the country in order to study or work in the West. In the years after 1989, over 1.5 million have immigrated. In 2012, pensioners were 24% of the population. The faces of populism. Their grassroots beliefs, there is grassroots populism and populism beliefs. Populism in Bulgaria is not just a propaganda tool for the oligarchy power retirement. It is deeply rooted in the mass beliefs. Widely disseminated typical mass beliefs in Bulgaria are: this means the communists or the oligarchs, are in power and this cannot be changed. It is not good that many parties are present. At least 40 years must pass away after Zhivkov's fall so that something can change. Under Zhivkov's rule, there was security and not unemployment. All politicians are bad men. It is, however, not my job to save the world. We Bulgarians cannot manage with it alone. Hopefully, the European Union force our statesmen to stop with the stealing. So I have to mention the populist strategies of the left-wing politics. Wage raises are often promised without any kind of explanation where the money will come from. Hundreds of thousands new jobs are promised. Higher pensions are always promised. Promises of cheaper electricity if the Russians build a new nuclear power plant, which will bring many new jobs. Reminding of the equality under the communists as a lost haven. Using the words justice, social responsibility and solidarity without any specific statements, policies, and engagements. The populist strategies of the right-wing politics. Praising the strong leader who will solve all the problems if only him will be provided enough power. The Tsar Simeon, the Volen Sidorov, the Boyko Borisov. Promises for reduction of the taxes of the rich, which will help them to freely develop their enterprises and to pull all of us of poverty. Declaring of the criminal privatization of the 90s as a fully legal, just, and timely. Use of right-wing phraseology like small business, middle class, etc. without any concrete engagements. And I have to mention about the populism of the green political parties. They use a green phraseology like sustainable development, energy independence, food independence, alternative tourism, without any specific engagements. Promises about thousands of green jobs. Use of NGO phraseology. We are party, we don't want to be in the government, we will be in the parliament as corrective. Critic without taking any responsibility. Dominance of PR methods over the content of the ideas. We are party of the young people, we are new party. Self-closing of the party in something like a green sect of 20-30 activists, jealous of new members which could eventually replace them from their role of prophets. Lack of interest to the problems of the people and concentration first of all on the nature, because it's easier to defend the nature. This defense can hardly meet an opposition. So, how can be the populism confronted in Bulgaria? This could be on the way of strengthening the democracy by introduction of democratic election law. First of all, removing the 4% barrier and introduction of democratic political parties law, requiring strong intra-party democracy. Reduction of the subsidies for the political parties. The high amount of these subsidies, it is the reason for the sustainability of the oligarchic parties. It also causes parties ghosts coming on the stage only during the elections and aimed to gain 1% of the vote and to become the subsidy. Strengthening of the Green parties in Bulgaria, members of the European Green Party, by their unification, improvement of the intra-party democracy and their social democratization. This means more focusing on the problems of the people and not only care for the nature. Balkan civil society can force the process of overcoming the populism in the Balkan politics by demanding serious, specific and justified legislation and other political plans by the domestic political parties. The Greens, as the most experienced Green party in the region, can facilitate this process and support the junior Green parties in the Balkan countries to avoid Green populism and to play a greater role for the progress of the Balkan societies. Thank you.